guys, welcome back to another episode of the One Tree Hill Rewatch here on the Filmaholic channel. And today I'm talking about episode 623 of One Tree Hill, and that is Forever and Almost Always. Now this is the Lucas and Peyton wedding. The whole series has been leading to them getting married pretty much, and it's finally here. And it's also the episode before the finale of season 6, and it's the second to last episode for Peyton Sawyer ever. So it's a pretty big one. I will go ahead and say off the bat that and I'm going to do a whole special video with my images and talking about that, my pictures and everything, because I had made several trips to Wilmington before this, just to be to Wilmington, see the locations, got to go on the tour of the studios. Got to meet Paul Johansson towards the beginning of season 6 for a little Q&A film festival type thing. So I got to meet Paul Johansson already. But this was the first big trip that I ever did to Wilmington as far as like watching filming. I ended up doing 3 big trips like this, and then a couple other ones that I'll talk about sprinkled in there. But the best time for me to go, and that I gathered when you were going to watch filming, was the finale. After season 6, starting with season 6 really because that Q&A thing, but after season 6 I would go twice a year at least. Beginning of the season and end of the season, which the beginning of the season I never really had that much luck because I didn't really go all the time for the premieres. It was just towards the beginning of the season I would do a trip to Wilmington and try to watch some filming. But the finale was always the best time to go and watch filming because there were so many other fans to experience with that were there for the finale. It seemed like the cast, which they were always nice and always willing to come over, but it seemed like they were always in a better mood to come over and interact and everything. It's the end of the season. Let's come over and talk to fans, all of that. And there's so many like on spot like filming locations around town. It's always a great time. And like I said, cast are awesome, crew amazing. This episode originally aired May 11th, 2009. It was directed by Greg Prange, written by Mark Schwann. I got to see parts of this episode filmed. This and parts of the finale, because they were at the tail end of filming this episode and beginning to film the finale, so I got to see a little bit of both. But obviously they don't film in order. So, like the episode, they film scenes out of order, obviously. So the first scene of this episode, I got to see like from a distance being filmed, and that was, the location that I went to, and I have a bunch of photos, and I'm doing the whole video just showing these photos and like talking about it. But like the spot at Greenfield Lake Park where Lucas and Peyton got married, I have a bunch of photos from there that I'm going to post, but I got to see them film there. Beth Angel Williams was there with Chad Michael Murray. I got to meet Chad Michael Murray for the first time. I had seen him already in person, but I got to meet him for the first time here at Greenfield Lake Park. He came over, was extremely nice, talking to the fans. I didn't get to meet Bethany that time. She didn't come over, but I did meet her later in the series, and we'll talk about that. I got to see but I saw her for the first time in person here. I saw James Lafferty for the first time in person here, as well as Junkin Fergie, Jamie, Skills. I got to see all of these people at different times throughout the day filming this episode. I didn't meet all of them here, but I got to see them. I met all of those actors later, and we'll talk about it, but as far as at Greenfield Lake Park, the only actor that I met was Chad Michael Murray. But I did see them film other scenes with this episode. But mainly the finale, like when they were actually filming the finale of season 6, is when I got to meet even more people. I met Sophia, Alston, Paul, Chad again, Mark Schwann. Wish I'd met Hillary Burton because I saw her in person. And we'll talk about that scene. But yeah, we'll talk about it. But in general, 623, Lucas and Peyton's wedding, Greenfield Lake Park. Opening of the episode, the first scene which I watched them film was Lucas makes Haley the minister. He gets on his phone, ordains her. That happens. From the last episode, Nathan, NBA scout, Nino gets called up. Nathan's struggling. He's coming back. He's tired of being away. From the first moment we see him in this episode is him coming to help out at the wedding and seeing Haley at getting the area ready for the wedding. He's missing it. He's missing being there, and he was actually supposed to be at practice in Charleston and not even be there for Lucas's wedding. But, he took an unexcused absence and came to the wedding instead because it's his brother. Like, he's going to be at the wedding, and they told him he couldn't do that, so he did it anyways. So he's really going through a tough time in this episode of maybe his dream isn't going to come true. Maybe he's never going to play professional basketball. Maybe it's not going to happen. So he's really struggling. They keep going through this thing with slutty wedding sex is what Mia keeps calling it, which I'm not going to talk too much about Mia and Chase in this episode or the next episode, and even in the last couple, because it's boring. I don't care. Like, I don't know. I love Kate Vogel, love her music. Her and Stephen Coletti were great when I met them. But I don't really care about Chase's storyline at all until season 9. Like, when we get to season 9, his storyline's good. But until then, bored out of my mind every time with his stuff. Just not good. And Mia, I liked her too. Really thought she was used well in season 5, but then they really didn't know what else to do with her character. She really never... I felt like she was too young to hang out with the main cast, but, who else was she going to hang out with? So they end up creating this like love story with her and Chase, and then we obviously get into this love triangle in season 8 that I further don't care about. But yeah, so she mentioned something about the wedding sex. Nathan and Haley are actually the ones that end up doing it in the trick bathroom. So that happens. Lucas invites Julian to the wedding to be there for Brooke. He's trying to set them up, do something for her. Julian brings Missy, which is the fake Brooke from the movie, the actress who was playing Brooke in the film that didn't get made. Brings her to make Brooke jealous. Brooke, in return, gets Nick Lachey as her date to make Julian jealous. Nick Lachey ends up punching Julian at the reception because he makes fun of his boy band. All this stuff's great. Love Julian. He ends up calling Missy Brooke. So Missy leaves. She ends up hooking up with Nick Lachey, and that's the last we see of him. And then Brooke and Julian end up dancing at the end of the episode, which is a really good moment. I love their stuff together, especially in the season, the early stages of Brilliant. And then another scene that I actually watched them film. Actually, this was when I met Austin Nichols, and I saw Daphne, who plays Victoria, but I didn't get to meet her. But I met Austin Nichols, and I actually had him sign my copy of season 3. But it's when they were filming the scene at the end of this episode when Julian goes to Close Over Bros to see Brooke. She's not there, and he talks to Victoria. And he essentially tells Victoria, if you don't change and treat Brooke better, you're not going to be in her life because she's going to be with me. Like, we're going to be happy. And if you want to be there, you need to change. You need to start treating her good. Great scene. Love it. And I met him after that, and he was awesome. And also met Sophia when they were filming this episode for the first time. She was filming the scene with her and Peyton at Close Over Bros before the wedding. I remember us as fans crowded on one corner because we did have to switch corners at times too, depending on where they were filming. Because at one point, I know they had us across the street. I feel like maybe diagonal, but that was only for like a little bit because of one angle they were filming at. But the majority of the time that I was outside Close Over Bros and watched filming, we were on the side of the street where Port City Java is. So because they didn't film usually out that window towards Port City Java, they always would film like out the door and diagonal. So you don't want to be across the street diagonally. But I remember being there and watching Peyton get out, or Hillary Burton get out of the car with the wedding dress and people freaking out. And then after that scene, Hillary couldn't come over because she had the wedding dress on. She would have to go change. So I didn't get to meet her then. But Sophia did come over because, her outfit wasn't really a spoiler. But it was also like, normal colors. It wasn't a wedding dress, like afraid to get dirty or something. So she came over and I met her for the first time then, and she is incredible. I also pointed out, it was really cool, the crew and stuff, I remember, kept driving around during filming and throwing out, which I don't have any of this stuff because there were so many people fighting over it. And I was 13 here when this was filmed, and I remember a very large woman tackling me over a One Tree Hill season 6 frisbee. I don't blame her, but yeah, that happened. So we have all that stuff going on. Like I've said with the title, I'm not a big fan of Forever and Almost Always. Like, I mean, song's good, Kate Vogel song, great, but I think I don't know why it's Almost Always for Lucas and Peyton's wedding. I think I would have chosen something differently. And probably the Touch Me I'm going to Scream Part 2, that would have connected to the pilot, the first episode of season 6. I probably would have used that for this episode, but they don't. I really like the Julian Peyton scene after he gets punched, and it's their final scene together with dialogue. Thought that was sweet, liked it. And one thing I want to point out is there's no Karen here. There's no Larry. They're both kind of explained where Karen is, and I think they mentioned that Larry's on a boat somewhere, and I'm just like, that's ridiculous. Like, Karen, and part of this is what you can get people back for, budgets and all of that. So the Karen thing, I kind of understand why she wasn't there, because you wanted her for the finale instead, and you probably couldn't get her for both. And you wanted her for the finale so that you could have her and have scenes with Sawyer, but also goodbye scenes like the one of them on the porch in the finale, which you couldn't have had here in the wedding episode. So I kind of see why you didn't have her in this episode, but if you could have had her, I would have. Like, I would have liked to have had her for 2 episodes versus 1. Same thing goes with Whitey. I'd love to use Whitey in the next episode, which is Whitey's final episode, but he's not here for Lucas's wedding, which is also kind of weird to me. It's like, it just seems like Lucas would invite Whitey to his wedding. I don't know. And we also don't have Larry, like I said, which that one's the most weird to me, because Larry's not there for anything to do with Peyton ever. Like, she graduated high school, she gets married, doesn't come for the baby, all of this different stuff. He's never there. And I don't know, I wonder how difficult it was to get that actor back to play Larry for this episode. But none of them are there, and I'm sure there's other people I'm forgetting that probably should have been invited to Lucas and Peyton's wedding. This is an opportunity. I mean, I know it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's the end of the season. They're not coming back. But, like, there's so many. You could have brought Anna back for the wedding. That would have been cool. No, didn't do it. The final thing here that I want to talk about is Lucas takes Peyton home. And he set the house up beautifully. He goes out to get the comment. He's going to surprise her. Comes back in, and she's collapsed on the floor. Cliffhanger leads us into the season finale, which I'll talk about next. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time.